Hey team, welcome back to another incredible episode of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader Podcast. This is your host, Mark Jewell, and today we've got a really unique one, actually. A lot of times we're talking on the business end of the ag industry. We hit a lot of ag retail, we hit a lot of biologicals, we hit a lot of fertilizer, we hit a lot of the food end of things. Today we're going a little bit closer to the farm gate. I've got Jace Young. He is the CEO of Legacy Farmer, and he's on the show. He's here with us. I'm going to get into your intro here a little bit more, but Jace, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. So Legacy Farm is a complete program combining experienced agriculture-based coaching and financial tracking software to help farmers master their finances and secure their legacy. And Jace at one point was an ag loan officer and grandson of a multi-generational Kansas cattleman. And he brings an interesting and a rare insight into the financial and the emotional realities of running a farm. He launched Legacy Farmer after watching his family lose their $10 million operation. And that experience opened his eyes to how little truth and support exist for farm families. And he's on a mission to fix that, to change that. He's doing something about that. By the way, as you guys are listening in, he's not just doing something about it. I mean, it's an actual movement. They've got 50-some farmers signing up for their coaching program every month, making a significant investment in their business to help themselves get a better handle on their numbers. And as a guy who has coached so many salespeople, Jace, more than 2,000 salespeople in ag that I have worked with in some way, shape, or form over the last 15 years now, one of the biggest frustrations that they all have is that their farmers don't know their numbers.
Yep.
Right. And so we might say, we might hear it's too expensive, right? But we don't really know. We know that that's just an excuse because I actually don't know.
Yeah,
and it may be true if they know, but what you're telling me, the reality is most of them don't know. And that's one of the things that you're helping them out with. And by the way, I mean, small business owner over here, right? $2 million business, but it's like, and in the early years, I didn't know my numbers. We didn't know our numbers. That's something that we've gotten more disciplined with over the years. And we finally got under the hood and really evaluated. And to the time, like I know how much it's costing me to be doing this podcast interview with you right now.
Yep.
Right? How much my time is worth doing this interview with you right now, and putting that out on a free show, completely unsponsored. But it's like, I know what my time is worth now. And most people don't know that, right?
Nope.
Most people just don't. So I'm excited to dive into that a little bit, but you are going to get the same opening question everybody gets, Jace, which is, what does it mean for you to be intentional?
For me to be intentional means to get extremely focused on solving the foundational problem, whatever that is, in any area of your business. And until that's solved, there's no more distractions. Right. There's no more wild ideas or this new idea or that new idea. And then putting time, energy, and resources over to that. Its intention is the ability to stay disciplined on solving the foundational issue.
So good, man. I love it. Those of us that struggle in the focus department need to re-listen to what you just said there in about 15
Which is
seconds.
every business owner. And the only reason I say that is because I'm definitely one of them, the victims that have struggled with the inability to get disciplined and stay focused.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I mean, you guys have, you launched this thing in 2019. You're already running with 30 full-time people, going potentially to 50 in the next year because of the level of growth that you guys are having. I'm just starting to work the math backwards on there. That means you're helping a hell of a lot of farmers. So talk us through, man. Like, just give us a little bit of overview, help us to understand Legacy Farmer and who you guys are and what you're doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I first started the company back in 2019, it really started out as just group coaching and consulting type of model there. And I was really helping people on the operational side of the operation. So growing up in our family farm operation, I noticed and experienced and felt the struggles between, farming and finances or farming and family specifically there as well. And just all the conflict and resentment and fights and all this type of crap there that can obviously be experienced there. So when I started the company, it was really primarily focused on that. But one thing I didn't expect was about 6 months into 2019, I continued to get financial questions. Right now, following our family farm going under, I got into banking in 2011 and left that career in 2016. So I was an ag loan officer for that amount of time. And that was a really important part of my journey. Again, because it kind of took me full circle. So growing up on the farm operation, saw the issues from an operational side. Going into the bank, though, is where I started to notice the massive gap between farmers and finances and farmers and banking, right? But also, too, like the other massive red flag is I went into banking fresh out of college. And all of a sudden, because I had, my title was loan officer, farmers, for some reason, we look at loan officers as trusted business advisors. And I'm sitting there as a young kid saying, automatically having trust from my customers coming in on helping them make multi-million-dollar decisions.
Right.
It's just a massive red flag to me, right? So again, I'm just exposing the gap and the problem that I saw inside of the bank there. And I started to connect the dots to the reasons as to why our family farm operation went under, and really just the lack of systems, the lack of clarity, the lack of just financial organization that my granddad had that ultimately led to that operation going under. Now, I share that because in 2019, when I started getting those financial questions, that's when we started building out the first version of our software called Farmer Metrics. And it's kind of funny thinking back, because the first version, I didn't have any money back then, right? So I was literally straight cash profit and just trying to get by. I'd struggled for 3 years at that point, trying to find my way and trying to raise a family at that time too. Like, it was just an absolute disaster and a really challenging time.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
The first version of Farmer Metrics was actually built on Google Sheets. So I paid a programmer $6,000 to come in and build out our first version of our process and system there in Google Sheets. And got to a point where we had 150 of our customers using it. And I got sick and tired of having to manually update that thing every time we wanted to make any change, because I had to go through and manually update everybody's, right? So it just took a long time and process there. And then I started to invest money into hiring a legit software team out of Wichita, Kansas, and worked with them for 4 years and built our product up to where we have now. And now fast forward into 2025, the whole software team is internal. Our whole team is internal, and we're scaling and growing.
Good for you, man. That is fantastic. I dig it. I want to go back and I think everybody will have an interest in trying to understand how to help our farmer customers better. So let's start from there. When somebody comes and enrolls in your program, they're making a significant investment in their business, right? And so what are the big pain points, the big fears that they're coming to you to get help with?
So there's a lot of different issues and problems inside the ag industry, as you know, right? Like, it's the one industry where, to me, there's not very many people coming back to it. And I'm curious as to, I've always wondered why that is, because the number of problems that exist in every side of the industry is just massive, right? So anybody that has a business idea could come back and build a product, service, or experience there and help solve a specific issue. But at the foundation of everything that's involved inside of an ag operation today is the numbers, right? Balance sheet, cash flow projections, field by field level profitability, or pin by pin level profitability if you're a cattleman, and that type of stuff there. And people, to me, when I was in the bank, it became, simple, and that this is just something that you should do. When I started Legacy Farmer, though, the high percentage of people that have zero structure and organization, and just the base level financials of their operation, you can't even fathom.
Yep.
Right. It's a massive number. And to me, it was simple. I thought everybody should have it. But as we've brought in customers over the years, I've had customers come in that are worth 50 to 70 million on their balance sheet. But on that first call with them, we're literally going through and explaining the basic structure of a balance sheet. And it's like that, to me, that exposes the massive problem that we have in the industry. And to me, like with that type of situation, it's not that farmers are, not smart or unqualified or anything like that. It's literally because that education and knowledge is not readily available out there.
So true.
Right? It's literally not getting put in front of them. That's why I tell people I was a terrible banker, Mark, because the reason, it's not because I didn't know numbers, but it's because I couldn't sit there and fill farmers full of crap when, to me, the customers sitting across the table were like my parents, who I watched lose everything. And it's like, I want to help you guys. But because of the liability and things in the bank, there were certain things that I could say and certain things that I couldn't say. And that never sat good with me internally, which caused me to up and take the jump and leave the bank in August of 2016.
Wow. That's awesome. I love the heart in it, right? Because it's truly based on real pain, real life. We actually, my wife and I work with a coaching program called Brand Builders. And one of the things that Rory and AJ, who started Brand Builders Group, one of the things that they always say is that you're most adequately positioned to serve the person that you once were.
Yep.
And when that's true, like when you have that real pain, you've lived that story and you've seen that in your family. And as you're talking through all of this too, right? I mean, I grew up son of an entrepreneur and small time, right? I mean, we're talking, a few $100,000 a year max kind of thing, right? Nothing too dramatic in terms of numbers, but Um, you know, here's what I know. I was never taught any of this stuff.
Yep.
I'm going to make an assumption that he never knew any of that stuff.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And really, other than a paid off farm, like left nothing behind. And it wasn't even, I mean, just a 13 acres, right, in a little corner of central Minnesota. That's where I grew up, right? And there was no financial education.
Yep. Well, and the
I
thing
spent
is,
most of my career as a small business owner, by the way, getting educated by screwing it all up.
same here, right? My model is a little bit different, right? But it's still the same thing is true for every business owner. If you don't know your numbers, then it's impossible to make sound business decisions when it comes to expansion or hiring this person or whatever you want to do there. When I think about my granddad, for example, though, too, he started the operation back in the 50s from nothing and built it into a $10 million plus operation. I mean, there was 3 different essentially enterprises within the operation there. All 5 of his kids came back. And so there's a lot of people involved there. And when the whole thing went belly up in 2005, it didn't just impact our family, but it impacted a lot of the people in the community as well, right? That did business with my grandfather and stuff like that. But, I think about his life and how rough it was because he went through the dirty 30s in Kansas. That was when he was a kid and that type of stuff. And I can't imagine the struggle back then because they had nothing. And he passed away 2015. And the thing is he had $1 million life insurance policy that obviously, was executed when he passed away. And guess who that went to? The bank. So to think to build all this up and literally not have one penny to pass on to the next generation. And my parents, the big lesson that I learned from them is they were the typical, son, daughter that goes back to the operation. This is your legacy. My granddad was very old school in that he expected all of his kids to come back and that it was their obligation. And so that's what my parents did. And my parents are a part of that generation, which every farm has them, that you go back and you make lifelong decisions based on the promises of the generation before you.
Yeah.
Well, my dad does that and lives on the feed yard for 40 years building that place and gets told at age 45, hey, you got nothing.
Nothing left.
Yeah. Filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you get kicked out of a house that they raised their family in for 30 years and walk away with nothing.
That's hard.
Yep.
That's tough. If you had to guess, what percentage of the food grown in America is grown on farms run by people who don't truly understand their business? From
95%. 95%. Yeah, it's inarguable to me at this point. And the reason is because even with, you think if you are running as a successful business and things like that, you'd want to have things protected, set up for the next generation. Well, we had our live event in Omaha last week. We had 200 of our customers come in from across the country. We had one drive 18 hours from Canada up in Alberta down to be at that event. And the last day we were all talking about legacy and estate planning, right? And I asked everybody in front of the room, I said, raise your hand if you don't have an estate plan set up for your operation. And how many of them do you think raise their hand?
Most of them.
Most of them, more than 90%. Right. And some of those guys too, Mark, they're running $30 million operations and they still don't have things set up to protect them. And part of the reason is you can't build a really a trusted and sound legacy and estate plan unless you have the numbers figured out foundationally to even know what you're passing on to the next generation too. And so anyways, I think the problem in the industry is so much bigger than what I can even comprehend. Right. One other thing that I took the customers through last week was the total amount of debt in the ag industry just in America. Right. And so we've increased on average 8 to 15% year over year for the past 15 years. Projected total debt by the end of 2025 is $592 billion. And now I told them in that room, I said, my concerns with this are that what percentage of that debt do you think is completely mismanaged or not accounted for? And that's where the alarms start going off for me. It's like, okay, there's over $500 billion in the industry that literally people, they don't even know, that couldn't even tell you what it is, where it's at, or anything like that, because they don't have the simple foundational structure for their finances.
Damn. I mean, we get all up in arms about $1 trillion or $1.1 trillion in student loan debt.
Yep.
But we're no better.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is too,
by the way, on a significantly much smaller portion of the population.
Yes.
There's a large part of the population that's gone to college and has got student loans. I mean, double-digit percentages, right?
Yep.
But
There's only
We're talking about less than 2% of the population's carrying almost 600 billion in
Yep.
debt, and we can't account for most of it.
Yep. And so that's what the struggle is, right? There's roughly 1 million farm operations in the country that are doing more than 350,000 a year in revenue.
So say that one more time.
There's roughly 1 million farmers in America that are doing more than 350,000 a year in revenue.
Wow.
All right. So those are legit businesses. Those are sizable businesses and things like that just no structure, no organization. Now, the problem's big enough, though, and this is where I want to make sure I'm not calling out farmers directly, because it's not their fault, though, either, right?
Of course.
I had experience in the ag bank.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw the problems in the ag banking industry as well. And over time now, I would argue that, yes, we have a problem with farmers not knowing their finances. We have just as big, if not bigger of a problem with these ag loan officers in the bank who don't know ag or don't understand the pool that they're swimming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is like, so who, I mean, we've got a farm, and we do whatever we got to do to keep people on the farm and keep people producing a crop and producing livestock every year. So that's no question, right? I mean, that's a thing that we'll find. I mean, whatever, Trump's writing a big $12 billion check to give out to farmers now, right? As a result of what's been going on and, all the tariff stuff this year. So we always find a way to keep people moving, but then there's a whole other big economy that's built upon the debt.
Yep. Absolutely. So the other issue here, and I'll just use my own personal story here to talk about this. So back when I started Legacy Farmer in 2019, if I didn't have profits that year, guess what I couldn't go do?
Anything.
Go back to the bank. Go to the bank.
You can't go to the bank.
An operating line of credit, term out any losses or anything like that, right? I had to build the business by making sound and strategic financial decisions and appreciating the value of a dollar, because I had to have profits in order to be able to feed my family, which I have a wife and 4 daughters. So you can imagine how expensive they are. And my household is there. But no,
Same.
I'm just kidding. Hopefully my wife doesn't see this. I say it to her anyway.
Add 2 sons onto my population, and I've got you.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But yeah, so I had to be profitable, right? Well, with farmers, having the bank there as a backup isn't always a benefit if you don't know how to respect what that option is. You know what I mean? And we have too many people to where if they lose 300 grand for the year, it's like, well, just looking at the balance sheet, I'll just go back to Tom at the bank or whatever the guy's name is and just refinance the losses, term it out, and we get a farm again next year. Well, my issue in the bank was I couldn't sit there and just term out somebody's losses against a piece of ground that maybe the piece of ground had been paid off for 100 years. There were specific customers that I had there. It's like, guys, do you understand the decision that you're making here? And they're thinking, well, no, I just get to pay, or I just get a farm again next year. It's like, no, think about this, right? So there was somebody in your family that literally worked their asses off for 20 to 30 years to pay off that piece of ground so they have something to pass on to the next generation. And to you just think it in terms of, oh, I get to go farm next year. You're not actually considering all the years that went in to pay off that piece of ground. Right. And when you think about it from that frame point there, now all of a sudden their decisions change. Like, well, crap, I have to get things buttoned up. I have to make more sound business decisions here. I can't be careless with the equity or the legacy that I inherited here, and all the years and past decades of work that the past generation put into it.
Man, dude. So, I mean, what's this information, the information to learn how to read a P&L, how to read a balance sheet and understand those things, the financial acumen, you could go look this up on YouTube. But they're not, and most people are not. By the way, I'm not talking just about the farmers. I'm talking about the location managers who listen to the show. I'm talking about the people who manage those location managers. I literally just got off a conversation with the VP of agronomy from a significant size co-op. One of their big challenges is location managers can't read balance sheets. Yep. So that this is a systemic issue, if you will. What is the transformation that happens in your program with your participants to get them to start doing it, right? I mean, has it just gotten bad enough and now they're scared enough so they're willing to look into something? Or and I'm sure there's a journey as a client of yours that's going to put them in to help them put themselves in a better position. But we talk about this a lot in our business. The cost of information's gone to free. Yeah. But that doesn't get you the transformation to become the person who does something different with the information.
Yep.
And that's what I'm curious. Like, how do you help them get there?
And I talked about this at a live event last week. And one of the things I said was that changes are cheap. Transformation is expensive. Right. And so the reason I say that is because when you are investing into our program, I invest in the same programs myself. I'm sure you do too as well, Mark. Right. I always have a coach. I always have a network of people that are different levels of business and life than I am, because those stories of their growth, the financial challenges, the things they've had to overcome and stuff like that, the bigger your life get, the bigger your problems get. Right. I think we can agree with that, and the bigger challenges there are. And so I have to surround myself with the people that are going to disclose that information of what they learned and didn't learn, so I can try not to make that same mistake. And so what the farmers coming into our program, yeah, they're getting exposed to the same thing. Right. So we may have a 20 or 30-year-old come in learning from the mistakes across every area of life, not just finances, but maybe it's family, maybe it's legacy planning, maybe it's kids or whatever, from a 50-year-old. Right? Think about the value in that education, that access to knowledge there. And then when it comes to the finances specifically, to answer your question, yeah, a lot of people come in when the gap in their finances is getting big enough to where they're starting to lose sleep at night, right? They know there's an issue. They know that there's a challenge. But the thing is, and this, I 100% agree with this now after living through this for 10 years, the number one fear every man has is the fear of being exposed, right? Because when they come in and we start getting their numbers structured inside our software, Farmer Metrics, and going through their balance sheet, going through cash flow and things like that, the problems that are going to be exposed on that documentation, those problems were created over the past 10, 20, maybe 30 years of bad decisions. Guess who's leading the operation? The man. And so a man has to get over the mental hurdle of saying, okay, I'm done of running and hiding in fear. I'm going to face this thing. I'm going to make the investment. I'm going to force myself to confront these problems and these challenges, because if I don't, my kids may not have anything to take over one day. And so there's this mental process and hurdle that people have to get through and get away from the fear of being exposed and just accepting that, hey, it is what it is. I'm here to get this thing solved. And once we get those things solved, yeah, some of the people come in and it's never as bad as what people think it is. And it's never as good as what people think it is either. Right. But even if the numbers aren't great, at least now we have a foundation to start building a game plan going forward. Right. Versus having no game plan and literally shooting from the hip every year and hoping and praying that things work out.
Yeah. So good, man. I love what you're doing. And this piece that you're talking about just right here, men get stuck because they're afraid of getting exposed. And I'm tapping back on that because I want people to sit with that, because there's somebody listening to this show right now who probably has some financial hiding that they've been doing within their family. Something, right? Something that maybe you're not even farming, right? This could literally be anything else. I see it. I know it. I've lived it. I've done it, right? I've had to face some chin music with my wife and have these hard conversations and come clean on, money that I'd borrowed to keep the business going, tough things that we went through during COVID. I fought tooth and nail. We were losing everything in 2020. I was doing everything I could think of, right? To keep just to not go under, and we got to restart basically the business over. As a result of all that, and then spend some years like just buying our way back out of it. But what I can tell you on the other side of that conversation and the other side of the hard work and the sacrifice and decisions is freedom.
And I would say an appreciation and respect for what you have. You know what I mean? And that's what we talked about at the event last week as well, is like a lot of people, they want to pass on the operation to their kids, but some of them, we have this, for some reason, this idea that we don't want our kids to struggle. Whereas when I ask everybody in that room, the only reason they're at where they're at right now, and some of them are extremely successful, is because of the struggles they had to go through at certain points in their career. You know what I mean? And so I say that because, like, with me personally right now, me building Legacy Farmer, Mark, I'm exposed every day. Like, we went out, we raised capital officially at the end of 2023. So think about going out and raising capital. It completely changed my viewpoint and my strategy on the business. I was exposed every single day. And even now, I'm exposed now, because back in 2023, I had me plus 4 team members. That's it. It was pretty easy. Pretty easy, right? Pretty laid back and that type of stuff here. Now we're at 35. We're going to be pushing 50 next year. I have, this is why I've told my wife when she asks, well, why are you stressed out? It's like, well, not only do I have my customers now, we have over 300 now from across the country. We're projected to be at 600 next year. I have 35 families, not just 35 people, 35 people plus their 3 or 4 family members that are impacted by the decisions that I'm making trying to lead this.
Yeah.
There is a weight that I feel as a business owner going through and leading that. And you know, I have to be
heavy hangs the head that wears the crown, brother.
Man. So I gotta, you know, and that's the thing too, is I can't sit here and pretend like, oh yeah, Jace has got it all figured out. No, I don't. I'm exposed literally every day. And so I tell the team, hey, yeah, I made a mistake here. Screwed up. I got to go, give me some time. I got to go invest in something. I got to learn how to solve this problem here. And that's been the secret to, I think, my growth in the company and why things have kind of lined up there, because, you know, when we're the areas of our lives that are getting exposed that we run from, to me, that's God shining the light on exactly what we need to solve in order for us to continue down the path that he has planned for us. If you know what I mean, that's how it's, I've been through it enough times now where it's like, okay, if there is a problem, that's God's way of shining that light there. Jace, you need to go solve that problem no matter how uncomfortable it is. And that way he can open the next door.
Yeah. So good, man. What do you think is the downstream positive impact of the work that you guys are doing?
I mean, you want to, how real do you want this to be?
Well, I mean, we only get, you know, we can always come back and do another show, but we could just get it done now and put this out in the first couple of weeks of 2026. And actually, hopefully, my hope is people will hear some real raw shit and actually go out there and talk to some farmers and send them your way.
Yep. So the real downstream positive impacts that I know that we're having in the industry is the average suicide rate inside of the ag industry is 3 times higher than any other industry. Right. And so all the work that we're doing, I know it's leading to having a positive enough an impact in people's lives that's hopefully being taken off the table for some people. Right. Hopefully we save somebody from doing that. And save some marriages along the way and that type of stuff, because all the stuff that we're talking about here, yes, we live in the business world with Legacy Farmer, but the positive compounding effects across all other personal areas of life are there as well.
Yep.
Right now, we can't quantify those when it comes to value that we're adding to the business and stuff like that. We let them come naturally. And that was shown in the room last week as well. The energy, the relief, the amount of wives that we had inside the room there that felt so much more connected with their husbands, because now all of a sudden the business problems were getting solved. There was a level playing field where they could talk about numbers and they weren't hiding or anything anymore. Because as a man, right, when you're hiding stuff, Mark, or I'm hiding stuff, Mark, my wife Rachel can feel it. She knows it, right? The energy is there when I walk into the house, right? So it's just like, there's those compounding positive impacts we can have in other areas of life as well. But the foundation with us still starts with the numbers.
Yeah. The work that we do, the work that you're doing in this space right now, Jace, I mean, it's literally life-saving for some. And that's where I was hoping you would go with that.
Well, and like with us, I want to make sure people know, like, that's not ego. I'm not approaching it from that way. It's just that we've had so many people come into the program where they were at a place where they didn't know where else to look. And that pulling the trigger was like on the table for them. You know, we even have one of our business coaches that is on our team, and her father, he was a big dairy farmer out in California, and things went sideways. This is back in 2009. Bank was coming out, and he pulled the trigger on himself the day before. I can't remember the exact note that he left a note for the bankers. You know, something around "take this shit now" or something like that. I don't quote me on that, but that's just the thing, right? It's like that story broke my heart, but this stuff, it just continues to freaking happen in the industry too. And it's just the power that people have in this identity as a farmer or rancher. And even with my dad, you know, that was the most painful process I witnessed my dad go through, was that in 2005, when he got told that, feed yards going under, farm operations going under, the most trialing thing I saw him go through wasn't them losing everything financially, is that his identity as a man,
that's just it,
gone.
It's the identity that we have tied to this, right? The identity as a dairy farmer, as a dairyman, as a rancher, as a farmer, whatever the, you know, label of farmer that you find yourself under. It's not just a job. Because if you just wanted a job, if you just wanted to make money, you could go do other things that are a lot less stressful and a lot less risky and a lot less everything, and more, not that they don't all come with their own challenges, right? Every job does, but good Lord, there are easier ways to make money than working in agriculture.
Yeah, they definitely are. It definitely is.
My dad used to tell a story too. So my dad was a fur trader and trapper, and we used to. So I spent my childhood going around to farms, even though we didn't have one, a traditional farm, but we would go and get permission to go trap fox and coyote and so forth on people's farms in central Minnesota. So one, I wasn't with him on this particular time, but it was in the mid 80s during the farm crisis, and he walked into the house of this person that he knew, and that person's sitting there at the kitchen table with the revolver, and he's ready to pull the trigger on himself because he's he knows that he's about to lose everything. And as my dad would tell the story, he sat down with him and talked to him and helped him change his mind and got the gun away and got him some help. But that always stuck with my old man because that's the reality of the situation for a lot of these guys. And so you guys are, I know this is not an ego thing, but the work you're doing is heroic. We do need more people doing that. We need you plus a lot of other resources, because if you guys are touching hopefully 600 people, 600 farms by the end of this year, there's still a couple million you're not.
I mean, that's the thing is, right, the problem is so big, Mark. Like that's the weight that I felt last week too, as we were talking about it. I sit here and think like, okay, God, how am I supposed to try to save and help as many people as I can, right? Because the number is so overwhelming to me by just the size of the operations that are having the problems that we're helping people solve,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in that though, also, Jace, right? I mean, but our God is big enough to handle this problem, and he's putting people like you guys and others into this space to go do something about it, because he cares about all of his people, no matter how much debt they're carrying, right? He can wash that away. And he does. And I've lived through that personally firsthand. So I know that that's possible, and I know that that's true. And I know that debt can get forgiven, that debt can get squared away, that debt can get paid off, things can happen. And by the way, once you get clear actually on your business and on your numbers and start putting structure around it, it happens fast.
It happens a lot faster than what people think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it may have taken you 30 years to build it up, but in a few years, like, you can make some pretty positive strides.
Well, you can make positive strides, and in 10 years, you could have a very small amount compared to what you built over the past 30 years. It's that consistency and that discipline there, but
big time. Good stuff, man. There's one last thing I just, that keeps coming up in my mind as you talk about this. My wife and I talk a lot about this in our executive coaching programs. She specifically speaks a lot about this, and then also on her podcast, on the Breaking Chains podcast. And it's something that we talk a lot about in our house, and it's about making trades. And so this is a little bit of a Bible lesson for some, but if you remember the story of Abraham being needing to go sacrifice his son Isaac, right, and being willing to put his son on the altar, and what an altar represents is a place of commerce. Okay, and we think about it in the Bible, just read about it's like they're sacrificing animals and stuff like that, but it's not. It's economy in the spiritual world. Right. And so in our relationship with the Creator, we're willing. So he was willing to sacrifice his son until God tells him not to. And that's the story. You have to go back and read Genesis to get the whole context for yourself. And I recommend everybody do that. It's a great book for everybody to go read. But here's the thing. Okay. What he made was a trade. And the trade proved that he was trustworthy. Obedient. Mm-hmm. Okay. And every time that we get involved in taking on debt, not taking on debt, okay, you make a trade. Every time that we decide to tell the truth or decide to hide, you make a trade. And it's a trade. And what's interesting is these things stack up over time. And in the Bible, it says that these decisions that we make are going to be passed on. These trades that we make will be passed on to our children's children. Right. It goes on. It's generational stuff. And so the consequence of 95% of American farms walking around carrying $600 billion worth of debt, that is a trade that's getting, by the way, right now passed on to our children's children. We're talking like 2150.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? This, like, the pain of your decisions today is going to be felt. The pain of the continuous decisions on how we treat our soil, on how we treat our livestock, and how we treat our finances, and how we treat our families. Like, this stuff will get passed on. And so the very, very good news is that you have the ability to choose doing that different. Whether you farm or don't farm, doesn't matter. You can start making decisions different today. For me, that's why is this show called The Intentional Agribusiness Leader? Because it's about making intentional decisions.
Yep.
And all the times in life that I have woken up resenting my situation are always because of the times in life I was the least intentional about my planning and my decision making. And that had to end.
Yep. Yep. And what's funny though too is that exact story you just talked about there. We talked about that in the room last week because there were several people in there that had been and spent over $500,000 in lawsuits with siblings because of decisions that were made in 1960. Right. So exactly what you just said, the decisions that you're making today will be felt 50, 60, 70, 100 years from now is exactly true. And that's why the decisions that we're making today deserve so much more freaking respect and consideration and calculation than what people are giving them, versus going and taking on an additional $2 to $5 billion in debt just because your banker told you could. Completely careless in my mind.
Yep. 100% agree. All right. How do we get people in touch with you?
Yeah, so they can go to legacyfarmer.com and click that apply now button, and they'll be connected with our team and be able to, do their research and that type of stuff, watch testimonials and things like that, and get started there.
If I'm a retailer or a supplier in the industry who's also having conversations with these farmers, obviously we can send them to a website, but do you have a great way for them to just make an introduction, a video they can watch, or a sales page or something we can send them to?
So we're actually in the process though too. Best method for them right now is to go to our website and just reach out to our team directly there as well. But just so you know, we are building out a strategic partnerships page just because we do have so many, and this is, guys, and if the sign wasn't big enough that there's a problem in the industry, the number of banks we have reaching out to us asking for help with customers, if that doesn't tell you they don't have a hold of this freaking problem, I don't know what else does.
Yeah.
Right. We have one bank that we just literally signed a partnership agreement with. They have 1,900 ag customers, Mark, and the CEO told me that they want all 1,900 of their customers on our software. Wow. The problem is that big for them now. And it's from a credit risk. It's from an actual banking risk issue there, right on the back end. They're now feeling this, not just farmers on the front end, but now banks on the back end are starting to really feel this problem. So, anyways, I say all that. We're getting our strategic partnerships page there put together. That way, more retailers and people like that are having these financial conversations, because it's impacting them as well. Yeah. It's impacting their business, right? It's impacting the equipment dealers and the seed dealers and all this type of stuff there. So it's definitely a industry-wide conversation. But we'll get that page built out, and people will be able to watch a video, fill out a contact form there, and be connected directly with our strategic partnerships team.
Man, this is good. I'm super glad we got to do this today. Thanks for being on the show.
Me as well. I appreciate you inviting me.